You're listening to DAHSmash Podcast with your hosts, two guys you've never heard of. And now, the most edited man in podcasting, Johnny O. And the man who has to edit him, Metal Ed.
All right, here we are, episode number 2. Welcome back to DAHSmash Podcast.
Wait a minute, this is part 2? Wasn't part 1 just on?
It was.
Oh, okay, well, where was I?
Sleeping, apparently, because, that was about an hour, right? An hour on another hour.
Is it shorter than last episode?
I believe so. By a few minutes, if you will.
We don't want to get anyone's attention span to overload. I'm kind of afraid to having an interviews that take a long time because aren't people going to be, I can't listen to this. But what's easy about podcasts is you can listen to it in your car on your way home. You can listen to it while you fall asleep.
You can listen to it in your house. You can listen to it with a mouse. You can listen to it here. You can listen to it there. You can listen to it anywhere.
Do you know where I listen to podcasts?
Where do you listen to podcasts?
I'm in the parking lot of a restaurant, and I'm eating. Usually it's fast food. I'm not going to mention it for copyright purposes.
Right.
But I am usually in a parking lot eating a burger somewhere, listening to podcasts.
And where do you listen to your podcasts?
I like Spotify.
You can catch us on Spotify. What do you know? You can catch us on Apple Music.
You can also listen to us on Pandora.
One of my personal favorites, TuneIn Radio, because that's where you can also catch my radio program, Shred with Metal Ed. So, where we left off with Sam Houston, which he's telling us about working for Bill Watts and Dusty Rhodes. Ladies and gentlemen, the conclusion of our interview with Sam Houston. So, Sam, I wanted to ask you, is there anyone that you didn't wrestle that you wish that you had?
Oh, well, yeah, there's a couple of guys I wished I had. I'd love to get in the ring with Undertaker. I think that would be awesome. I wished I would have been able to wrestle Bockwinkel one time.
I loved watching him in AWA.
Well, he was a technician, but yeah, he was great. I mean, but you really had to watch. You had to study, But, but I've wrestled everybody. I wrestled Abdullah the Butcher. I wrestled Stan Hansen. I wrestled Ted DiBiase. Me and Ted DiBiase were wrestling Jackson, Mississippi after he was turned into the $1 Million Man. Now, Hogan was on the next match against Harley Race. DiBiase threw me in the corner so hard, I hit the turnbuckle. The ring post broke. The ring fell to the floor. Harley Race was willing to go out there and wrestle on the concrete floor, and they were like, no. Just sit him out and let him do the strip the T-shirt off and go home. But, I've had a lot of those awesome moments. Like I was telling you, Barry Darsow come up to me that night in Vegas, and he said, Sam, he said, all of the greatest matches in my career were with you. Kurt Hennig wrote in his memoirs, I heard that his 3 greatest matches were Bret Hart, Nick Bockwinkel, and Sam Houston. And I get that from a lot because I'm versatile and, and I'm about doing what's right to get the job done, But yeah, and a lot of people, I wrestled this guy, in 2016, I lost everything in the floods in Louisiana. So I was on the road trying to make it,
Was that from the hurricane?
Oh, yeah, it must have been. It was a flood in Walker, Louisiana. I had been in Texas, and I'm driving back, and then I lose everything before I get back to my house. I had my wrestling boots with me. So I hit the road, and I went up to Minnesota, and I got booked on a card, and I was in the ring working with this guy, and this old man on front row was really giving it to me and everything. I was having fun with him. Well, anyway, I wrestled my match, had a great match, an outstanding match. I really didn't know the guy or anything like that. So 2 weeks later, I go to another show up there, and I'm there, and that old man came up to me again. And he said, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" I said, "Sure." And he said, "The fella that you wrestled last time, that's my son." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Yeah." He says, "We have a tradition with the, they go to do the matches or whatever, and then they go home and they drink some beer and then they talk." He said after the matches, him and his son went home and they were drinking their beer and everything, and his son started crying. He said, "What are you crying for?" And he goes, "I've been in this business 27 years." And he said, "And I just had the best match I've ever had." So, if I can make somebody's day like that, man, let me do it. You know?
How tall are you?
I'm between I'm right at 6'4", but I'm like 6'3.5", 6'4", somewhere around there. It depends on what convenience store I'm coming out of too.
Right.
If they got the tape right or not.
Do you keep up with the current products, WWE, NXT, AEW? Watch any of the product that's on the TV now?
I'll be honest with you, unless it's something really great, not really. I'll check it out here and there or something like that. But, like if I was a plumber, I wouldn't go watch another plumber put a toilet in on my day off.
I hear you.
And there's, I'm not going to see anybody that can arm drag me out, headlock me out, do this or out do that. And if they want to, I'll just get in the ring and show them how it's done because I'm still working.
Hey, let me ask you, speaking about arm drags, have you ever taken an arm drag from Ricky the Dragon Steamboat?
Yes. Just work it out one time. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. And I've got to throw me in. But the three guys the best arm drags, I think, in the business were Ricky Steamboat, Brad Armstrong, and then me.
Mm-hmm.
That's if I'll go all the way down. I got lazy kind of and started just dropping down.
When I was in wrestling school, I had a wrestler, I'm not going to mention any names, but when I went over and he popped my arm right out, and the wrestlers is funny because all the wrestlers there, they're all like salivating in the mouth, and they all jumped on top of me. Oh, I want to pop it back in. And they popped it back in, and boy, it hurt like hell.
Oh yeah, nice guys, huh?
Yeah, right. Yeah, doctor. They played doctor.
Hey, I was wrestling Sting and Rick Steiner in Columbus, Georgia one night. I was supposed to wrestle Eddie Gilbert for the UWF title that night, but they wouldn't do that night. So anyway, Columbus, Georgia that afternoon, it's me and Savannah Jack, and Sting has got me in a Boston Crab. So I'm working my way to the corner to try to make the tag to Savannah Jack, and I'm getting almost there, and Rick Steiner comes in the ring and drops an elbow on the back of my head. The front of my face smashes into the mat. I look up, and Tommy Gilbert was the referee, and he went, "Oh my God." And I said, "Where is it?" And he pointed to his face, and I grabbed my nose, and I went, click, click, click. And I looked back up at him. He goes, "Too far."
So let's get into some ribbing stories. Any memories of Andre the Giant, Roddy Piper, Dynamite Kid, anything like that?
Let me tell you this one because I don't want to get into like this one or that one. Let me tell you one that just blow you. You'll be dying laughing. I'm gonna tell you two. All right. How many people remember Nikolai Volkov? A lot.
Oh, I know.
Everyone. Yeah.
I've known Nikolai since when he was one of the Mongols. I think he was Beppo or one of either Beppo or Gito or whatever. Anyway, so I've known him since I was a little kid. I'm on a plane and we're flying to Boston, and I was just sitting there talking to the stewardess. And, because, you look like Richie Sambor, blah, blah, blah. So we're talking and everything. Well, Nikolai comes up and he goes, he wants to show this lady a magic trick. So he's got these little red sponge balls. And he goes through this whole spiel, and she opens her. He goes, "How many balls do you have in your hand?" She says, "Oh, I have 2." And she opens her hand. She got 5. And she goes, "Oh, that's so neat." He goes, "Oh, okay, I show you now, but I use Sam. So Sam going to help me." So I'm like, okay. So he goes through, but his spiel is a lot different and everything else. And then he goes, "What's on your mind?" He said, "Open your hand." And when I opened my hand, it was a red sponge penis and pair of testicles.
He got you.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. So that night we land in Boston. We go to the hotel. Me, Duggan, and Jake always traveled together if we were on the road. You got your clicks. So I was sitting there, and I see Nikolai. He's getting ready to go to the ring, but he's watching out the curtain in the back. So I go and I get me a piece of toilet paper about 3 feet long. Then I go get me a Band-Aid, flesh-colored Band-Aid, and I tape it to the toilet paper. And then I walk down the hall and I tap Nikolai right above his trunks with the toilet paper. I said, "Good luck out there, Nikolai." and patted him on the back and just walked by. And he looks at me and he goes, thanks, Sam. So the match is over. Now it's his turn to go to the ring. So Jim Powers goes to the ring. And now here comes Nikolai with his Russian flag going to the ring in Boston Gardens with 17,000 people with 3 feet of toilet paper coming out of the top of his trunk. So as he's walking to the ring, the people in front of him are booing him and yelling, USA, USA, USA. And the people behind them are busting their guts laughing so hard. So he makes it to the ring. He makes it to the ring and climbs in the ring. He waves his flag around to everybody. Now everybody sees the paper coming out.
Was this televised?
Yes. It was on that Boston Garden TV thing that they used to do.
Yep.
Oh, and it aired that Sunday. I go, it was, oh God. Anyway, so anyway, he waves his Russian flag around now. Now, Jim Powers is on the laying on the mat. He's holding his side. He's laughing so hard. The referee is on his knees in the corner, biting on the turnbuckle like George Steele. Howard Finkel is sitting there with tears coming out. And Nikolai wants to sing the Russian national. So the whole time he's singing it, the people are dying laughing. Oh, no, it doesn't think. So now he wants to get the match started, but the match ain't getting started. Everybody's still dying laughing. Finally, Nikolai hits the ropes a couple of times and toilet paper came off. Well, I walked in the dressing room and Jake and Duggan both looked at me and they said, you did that. And I was like, did what? Because they're watching it on the monitor. He said, you put the toilet paper on Nikolai. I said, no, I didn't. He said, you're buying the beer for a month or we're going to tell Nikolai what you did. So I was like, okay, so I agreed to buy the beer for the month. I was never so happy to make that decision. But that weekend was something. We were in the airport. And remember they used to have like the chairs with 4 TV sets in them, that you put orders in. Well, Nikolai was going to watch the show on one of those. We're at a gate. I'm at a gate sitting away over there by myself. He saw him going to the ring with the toilet paper coming out. Oh my! He wadded that row of chairs up into a ball. He was so mad. Now, to tell you what kind of guy I am, in 2006, when they had the big Legends deal in Dallas, and I knew Nikolai was really old, and I could either outrun him or whip him by now, I did tell him it was me and he goes, ha, ha, ha. You a guy, Sam. Now, that was one. And another one, oh gosh, I haven't never told this one, but one night, okay, Jake and we were partying. They put at somebody's house, and it was either Jake or Doug. And our things back then was when you pass out, you had an Norelco razor and you took somebody's eyebrow off. So I feel myself going out, and I was like, it's like, dude, I said, if I wake up with no eyebrows, I'm killing you both. Like, no. So I make it up to the room. I get in the bed. When I wake up the next morning, Damien is in bed with me. His head is on my shoulder.
Oh my God.
Okay. That's Jake's thing. Now, I'm not into snakes, I'm not scared. I wasn't really scared. I had a couple of instances. I open my eyes. I see that. I'm on my feet before I know it, out the door, running down the hallway. I'm butt naked.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. I'm butt naked. And so I go back and I'm banging on the door. Jake won't let me in. So Duggan has to wrap his bedspread on me, and I have to wait until Jake leaves the hotel before I can get back in the room and get ready to go to the airport. I don't see my brother for 6 months. Or, I'm sorry, 6 weeks. So we're in like Madison, Wisconsin, and Jake was starting to wear, he was wearing the Don Johnson suits and everything, like Miami Vice or whatever. So he'd just been on the Ellery Queen magazine, the cover of Ellery. He's like, man, everybody, knows who I am there, And he was all, and I was like, dude, you're walking around with a Magnum PI mustache, this, that, and the other. You're 6'7". People gonna know who you are, So anyway, we do the show that night. We get to the bar. It was a great Holiday Inn. They had a great bar. This was an awesome hotel. So much happened here. You'll have to read the book to find out more or tune into the stories. But anyway, so I hit Jake with, I put 2 halcyons in his beer. So about 20 minutes later, he starts getting that lean and that drool going on. So I know it's that time. So I was like, Jake, come on, I gotta get you up, gotta get you out of here. You've been H-bombed, man. I bet it was those doggone British Bulldogs. Yeah. So I get in, I take him to the front desk. I said, ma'am, this is my brother. I said, he's been Mickeyed in the bar. I said, I need to get him to his room. She said, sir, he's checked in under Roberts. You're under Houston. I said, those are our wrestling names. Our real last name is Smith. She said, I can't give you his room key. I said, that's okay, ma'am. He's 6'7", weighs 270 pounds. He's a guest here. I'll leave him up here with you. She said, sir, here's his key. So I carry Jake to his room. I throw him on his bed, fully dressed and everything. So then I go over because the hotel at the time they had SpectraVision. It's $9.99 a movie. And
SpectraVision?
Yeah, SpectraVision.
Yep.
Movies you gotta pay. So it had like 8 movies. So I made sure I pushed the first button. I made sure that each movie played at least 15 minutes or 10 minutes or something to get charged. I called up the bar, ordered me a fifth of Crown Royal, a case of Cokes. No, a 2-liter Coke, a case of Coors Light. I found his weed. I took it. I called that again. I called room service, ordered me 2 steak dinners. Okay, but still that wasn't good enough. And I was sitting there and I was like, man, what can I do now? And I'm drinking beer and I'm Crown Royal all 9 yards. And I look at the clock. He's got a little alarm clock. And now back then it was a $5,000 fine if you missed your flight. And Vince was bad about putting you on the very first flight. So Jake's flight was supposed to be at 6:30 in the morning. So I was sitting there and it's like 2:15 and everything. And I went, wait a minute. I could move the time up 2 hours, right? So move the time up on his clock 2 hours. I go back to my room, I party all night and everything else. At 4:00 in the morning, I've got the rent-a-car at the front desk, and at 4:00 I start banging on his door. Jake. I use my key, open his door. Jake, come on, man! Look what time it is. We're gonna be late. Gotta get you to the airport. And I'm running my mouth 90 miles an hour. I'm talking fast. And he's like, huh. He says, look what time it is. Your flight leaves in 30 minutes. And he's like, oh. So he's grabbing the stuff and we're grabbing the snake and I'm helping him with his bag. And I forgot to tell you, when I set the clock ahead 2 hours, my brother's got a forehead that looks like a billboard.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but it's the truth. And I took my Sharpie magic marker and I wrote stupid as big as I could across his forehead. So as we're passing by the front desk, he throws the lady his key. And she busts out kind of laughing. And he goes, yeah, baby, it's me. Yeah, and that's how he was, that's me, the snake. He's like all Fonzie. So anyway, we get in the car and I'm running my mouth. I says, okay, dude, your flight leaves at 6:30, mine's at 7:15. I'm going to drop you off at the ticket counter. I'll go turn the car in, blah, 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 blah. If I don't see you before, I'll see you down the road. So I drop him off at the front. Well, I go turn the car and I come up on the escalator and he's at US Air sitting there and he's talking to this real pretty blonde-headed woman. And this blonde-headed woman, she's smiling so big, I know her cheeks had to be hurting. There are tears welled up in her eyes. I walk up and stand beside my brother and she looks at me, she smiles, and I smile back and she kind of like nods her head like, look at him. And I'd nod my head like, yeah, I know. Other ticket agents are coming out of their little offices going, hey, and waving. So he turns around and he goes, man, it's only 4:20 in the morning. I was like, those damn British Bulldogs, Jake. I don't know how they do it, man. He's like, yeah. And he goes, I guess you turned the car in. I said, yeah. And he said, well, let's go get some breakfast. So we got through security and we're going through airport security. It wasn't anywhere near as bad as it is now. I mean,
right.
But yeah, you still got security guards. Oh, and they all had cameras and they was all laughing.
And he still had stupid written on his forehead.
Oh, yeah. So we walked in the restaurant and the lady's wiping the table down. And she looks up and sees it. She spurts. She goes, and he goes, yeah, baby, it's me. He goes, could we get 2 coffees? So we sit down. She brings us the coffees. He orders his big breakfast, but he signs a napkin and he tries to hand it to her like 3 times. She didn't want that napkin. Yeah, she finally took it and put it in her paper. He orders a big breakfast and she says, for you, sir? I said, I don't eat breakfast. Thank you, ma'am. And 'cause I just drink my coffee. So Jake looks at me and he goes, hey, man, he goes, everything's been happening so fast this morning. He goes, I haven't had time to take a leak. He goes,
Oh,
I'll be
no.
right back. As soon as that man walked in the bathroom door, I got to tell you, I did the skips. I did the 100-yard dash in about 2.3 seconds. I was in a taxi cab and I didn't come back to the airport until 7 o'clock that morning. 15 minutes to make my flight because I'd already checked my bags. So I don't see Jake for 2 months because Vince was running 3 towns a night. I don't see him for 2 months. I walk into the Maple Leaf Gardens and I always like to get to the matches early when I could, just something instilled in me by my dad. So I get there and when I walk in the dressing room door, Jake is sitting in a steel chair right as I open the door, and he's got one sitting beside it. And he looks at me and he goes, ha, ha. And he goes, sit down, bro. So I sit down and he goes, we ain't gonna have no problems, all right? I was like, no, it depends on you, man. Yeah. So we didn't pull no ribs on each other for a little while, but it got back down to it. He covered me in mud with one time when he drove the car off the ditch. I was on Parabol in this drug called Parabol and steroid. And I picked the front end of the Lincoln Town car up, and when the back tires hit the ground, oh, he buried me in mud.
Oh, man.
But I got him back after that, too, a couple of years ago. I go through Atlanta to visit him and everything, and he goes, hey, man, give me a ride to the airport. I need to rent a car. My girlfriend's coming in from Canada and the whole 9 yards. So I give him a ride to the airport, and we stopped at the grocery store, and he got her flowers, but he left them in my car. Yeah, when I dropped him off to the rent-a-car place. So I get back to his apartment, I got these flowers. So I'll go hide them in the pantry. So he brings her in and everything, and he introduces her to me, Candace, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm standing there. So I'm trying to tell him that I put the flowers in the pantry. So I'm, talking to him in Kearney. And she looks at me and she's trying to like figure out what I'm saying or something. So when Jake goes to the pantry to get the pictures, I said, oh, darling, I said, you just don't know what a difference you're making in my brother's life. And she goes, really? And I said, yes. And she said, oh, and I said, he's been singing Lionel Richie songs all day. So we all have dinner and everything, and everybody goes, yeah, well, I was waking up early in the morning because I was working offshore I was a scaffold builder and supervisor offshore in the Gulf of Mexico. So I wake up early. I already had coffee made up at 5:30 in the morning. He comes in there and he's looking at me with he's really mean look on his face. I'm like, what's wrong with you? He goes, man, the mood was right and everything. And then she whispers in his ear, sing Lionel Richie songs to me. He goes, I don't know. I ruined this whole moment.
Oh, man. You really do get some excellent rib stories.
Oh, yeah. I've seen it all. I've done a lot of it, too.
Was this around the time that whole incident with Dynamite Kid and Jacques Rougeau? Were they? Were you around?
Oh, no, that would have been the part where the stupid on the forehead was back around that time, yeah.
Were you in the locker room for that? For when?
Oh, that didn't happen in the locker room. I was in the hallway. I was in the entryway. It was all set up, I believe, because there was a rent-a-car in the hallway on the inside of the building to go out with the engine running. So, yeah, it was a setup I think, I know people were in on it, So
well, the Bulldogs were very notorious for their ribs.
Yeah. Oh, they were, and like I said, I've seen a lot. I'm not going to trash nobody. There's a lot of things I don't agree with and everything like that. But then again, I'm not going to sit here and put anybody down. I can't,
Right.
We lived in a whole different world. Everything was, whatever you wanted.
Yep.
Wasn't that
right after that incident? Didn't they kind of make a rule? You got to calm down on the ribs for a while, or?
Well, yeah, but that's not going to last either. Terry Taylor got his clothes tore up every night. But, he was going around trying to tell people like Randy Savage and Andre the Giant how to have their match. You don't do that.
Yeah.
Damn,
You have any Andre the Giant or Randy Savage ribs?
Well, no, Randy. Okay, I so I used to smoke a lot of weed.
Yep.
You could. Anyway, so Randy comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, brother." He goes, "Me and Liz, we don't go to the bars or party or anything like that. It wouldn't be bad for every once in a while to take a little hit of some herb." So I said, "I'll hook you up." Well, I hooked him up every day for about 2 weeks. So I said, "Hey, Randy, give me a little cash." I said, "I'll hook you up." He goes, "I never buy." I said, "You'll never smoke with me again." Randy was cool. I liked Randy a lot, but I knew Randy, I knew Lanny and everything. And I guess because Liz was in the business in the same position my wife was in WCW, there was, friendship and camaraderie there, I guess is how you'd have to say it the best. I first met Andre. I was about, I guess, I don't know, 10, 11 years old. He used to come down to Louisiana 2 weeks out of the year and be my dad's tag team partner around the territory. And they'd go around because my dad, like I said, was about 7 foot tall, 6'10". And they were the world's largest tag team. They built them at. And they'd be dad and Andre gets 3 or 4, sometimes 5 guys, And so he was coming over and we were going to get to meet him. And it was Lafayette was running that night. And then I was riding with Dad and Andre and I was going to Shreveport TV the next morning, so that we're driving all night. So my mom was going to make our favorite meal, which was chicken fried steak, rice, and gravy. Andre the Giant came over to our house, ate 22 pieces of my mom's chicken fried steak.
Wow.
He ate my dad got 2 pieces, my mom got one. There was no food left when me and my sister got there. So mom made Andre pay for me and Robin to go to Burger King. So we get back from Burger King, I ate my sandwich, and now we're ready to go to Lafayette. I'm getting to ride with Dad and Andre. So after the matches in Lafayette, now Dad had started buying me, I guess 7, 8 years old. He had, if he was with one of the boys or whatever, and they would be talking business and stuff, he didn't want to be interrupted. There was rules in the car, and I didn't interrupt him or anything like that. But he would get me a bottle of Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill, and I'd sit back there and drink my little cheap wine and fall asleep, So anyway, when we leave Lafayette, Dad pulls up the convenience store. He asked Andre if he wanted any beer. And Andre said, "Yes, 2, please." Dad goes in the store and he gets me a bottle of Boone's Farm. He gets him a Magnum of Lambrusco. And he goes, 2 beers, a big guy like that. I got him a whole 6-pack. And then when he gets back in the car and he hands Andre the 6-pack, and Andre goes, "I meant 2 cases." In the time it took to drive from Lafayette to Alexandria, which is only about 85, 90 miles, Andre drank the 2 cases and the 6-pack. Dad drank his Magnum wine and I drank mine. Well, when we got to Alexandria, I filled the car up, put gas in the car, and I went and peed. And they went and got more beer and wine. We get back in the car. They drove from Alexandria to Natchitoches. That's about, I don't know, 50 miles, 55 miles. Well, they pass the state trooper. State trooper hits his lights. He starts following us. So I'm looking out the back. Dad don't see him. Him and Andre are sitting there laughing and talking and, carrying on. So I said, Dad said, "Son, how many times have I told you not to interrupt when we're talking business?" And I said, "Yeah, but Dad," and my dad said, "Son," and I knew to shut up. So a few minutes later, Dad still hadn't realized there's a cop behind. So I speak up again and I was like, "Dad," and he said, "Son, don't make me pull this car over, and use my belt." And I was like, "I don't want, and my dad wasn't a brutal guy like that, but, he had his rules. And,
Right.
He was talking business. Don't interrupt, So anyway, but they were laughing and partying. So My dad tells Andre, he goes, boss, I sure could check out the other side of a sign. And Andre goes, yes, I could piss too. So they pull over on the shoulder. And it's a 2-lane highway, Highway 1 in Louisiana, driving from Baton Rouge to Krotz Springs all the way up to Shreveport. We're in Natchitoches. So, boy, this cop boy, he jumps out of his car and he's writing a ticket out and he's looking at the license plate number. And he sees the car doors open and he's writing away and stuff. And you could tell he was mad. And I'm sitting there. Well, guys like Dad and Andre, they're large guys. It takes them a minute to lumber out of a vehicle. And
Yeah.
that cop, and I saw it. That cop looked, and then he looked up again, and then he kept looking and seeing. And when they got to their full height, the cop looked up at him, threw the ticket book and the pen up in the air, went and got in his car and left. I was like, yeah, I've been following you for a while, But I've had a blast on the road. I've had a blast with my life. The wrestling business has been good to me. It's been bad to me. But you always keep positive in life. Everybody wants their life to run on an even keel. God don't play that way. It's all up and down, up and down, up and down. And you've got to field whatever ball gets thrown your way and keep on the right road. Keep on the right.
You have lemons, make lemonade, man.
That's it. And don't ever be second best at anything you do. Your maker gave you gifts, right?
Correct.
Use those gifts. Do what you can. Excel. He didn't want you
Absolutely.
to sit there and sit on it. How many people go to Mardi Gras and are really shouting in Mardi Gras? Boy, if they show up at church like that and praise the Holy Ghost like that, what do you think would happen, man? Instead, everybody wants to spend their time on a party and booze, this, that, and the other. But if you put enough spirit into that, as much spirit in your worship as you do as you're in your sinning, boy, this world would be a better place, I think.
Yep, I totally agree with that.
100%.
And I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes or nothing like that.
No.
I mean, I was one of the biggest, baddest drunks there was, but I was always a happy drunk,
Mm-hmm.
But I thank him for everything I've gone through, because he's led me through everything so I can help other people. And that's where I get joy.
Sam, I really enjoyed talking to you. We both did. I want to have you on again. Would that be possible to do this again?
Yes, sir. It'd be my pleasure. You just work it out with Will for me.
Absolutely.
And and here's the deal. It takes. I don't. Okay, the money that y'all give me to the donation that you give me to talk to the fans and everything, because it does take my time, and I don't mind giving you my time, but I like to give my time to other people. But if I can make a few dollars to help somebody, you understand? Because I got a lady in Arnold, Missouri that needs eye surgery. Her insurance has been messing her up. She's got a skin condition in her eyes. I did a thing on Facebook a long time ago, but I don't know if it's ever resonated. But at least I know through things like this, I can help them with the family and issues like that and help them get by.
Absolutely. I'm willing to donate and willing to, even if you want to plug any of your charities.
Sure. Well, if you want to donate, if you'd like to reach me, please go through Wrestling Legend 2020. Will Knight is he's the leader of my management team. You'll see him on my Facebook page. My Facebook page is under Michael Sam Houston. I'm a public figure, I think, so anybody can see my page. I've got close to 5,000 friends. I got 1,000 people waiting to be friends. You can follow me on Facebook on Sam Houston Fan Nation. Like I said, we're just completing the production studio tonight. So I've got there's 2 YouTube channels that you can follow me on. One is Sam Houston Brand, and I'm not sure what the name of the other one is. But any way, shape, or form, just reach out. I'm here to help. That's what I'm put on the plan to do. And if I can help a brother get by, I was at at that event in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and this little boy, he had spina bifida and he's in his wheelchair, and somebody had told him off because he didn't have the money for a picture or something. And I was sitting there, it made me mad. I wanted. That's when you want to slap somebody down.
Yep.
You know, so I made that little boy come over and sit with me, and I told him about me being paralyzed twice, and I told him about how what the doctor did for me. Talked to him about he needed to stimulate his circulation, get his blood flowing through his extremities, because the power of healing is all in your blood. When Dave Nelson brought me down to Florida, that lying piece, well, I'm sorry, I won't trash talk anybody. Anyway, he lied to me. I got down to Florida, 4 nights in a hotel, and then I'm homeless. And I lost everything. And so I took a room at a lady's rented rooms. And her name was Cherie Perez. Now, Cherie had severed her spinal column 8 years earlier in a snowboarding accident. She had tried therapy for 6 years. She got no benefit from it. She sat in her chair for 2 years. I moved in with her. I encouraged, but the Lord did the healing and she did the work. You know what the girl does now? She gets pulled behind a speedboat on a surfboard with a seat welded to it, does all them flips and everything. She rode a jet ski for the first time 2 years ago in August.
Wow. Amazing.
And I was able to tell that boy, and that boy didn't have any money, but it didn't matter. And I didn't give him one of the promotions pictures either. My girlfriend Kim had some posters made, and I gave him one of those. And what I wrote on it, I wrote very simply in stick letters so everybody could read it. I believe in you.
Sometimes just simple words can really make a big difference.
The promoter, Donna Canucci with Shadow Entertainment, which almost started crying. She goes, that wasn't just a meet and greet or this or that or the other, passing the bucks. She said, you had a moment with that. Yep. And that's what it's about. That's what it's about, y'all. And I definitely want to do this again because y'all need to know me.
this is I feel like we're friends now.
Oh, definitely.
You can't get rid of us now.
Good. Well, you just keep in touch with Will, and we'll work something out whenever's convenient for y'all and convenient for me. We'll get together and do this. All right.
Sure. Yep. And thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hey, God bless y'all. And y'all, if I don't see you before, I want to see you in heaven. Okay.
All right.
So thank you very much.
All right.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Take care.
Take care. Thank you, Sam, for that interview. And that concludes the interview with Sam Houston.
You did a Sean Mooney there. I like John. There's just one thing I need to know. Who's next?
Well, he is Mr. Technical.
Bret Hart.
No, not the excellence of execution.
No, he was at one time Bret Hart, I'm telling you, with 2 T's.
We'll hear that story next time when we have
Mr. Barry Horowitz on the Double Axe Handle Smash podcast. Woo!